Go love your own enemies. Don't be loving mine. My enemies are the theocratic fascists. I don't love them. I want to destroy them.
Child made in the image of God. Oh no, you're not. You're a faggot. And you can't join your church and you can't go to heaven. This is disgraceful. It's inhuman.
So, you know, when the Christian does but he died for your sins routine, you know, but Jesus loved you so much that he died just for you routine. That's called guilt tripping. That's called guilt tripping. And I'm guilty of doing that. I didn't really throw that in people's faces as a Christian, but I was a Christian for a long time, and that mentality was ingrained in me. Probably from being a Christian. The whole, well, gee, I'm being a good friend, so you're going to be a good friend back, right? The good trade way of thinking, I think that's our society is based on you have to give something to get something, right? You want some desired thing, you have to pay a price. You have to pay whatever they're charging or trade something to get something. It's kind of like, it's kind of like ingrained in us from as long as we can think back.
It's my hat. No, you. My hat.
वो पोस्टा की है इतावा ये लो lieutenant
Ja, sindsla ga je op la liewalo. Lo haktelo.
wala ka ya ke wana gichi ye lo he akishta tawa naha wichacha kile he tawa Jalena iuha slow yapi heche yachi hechi taku ikipia ku
Asteo. Aste.
good straight
Christians say, well, it's a free gift. It's free. Jesus died for you because he loves you so much. Salvation is a free gift. All you have to do is, give back. You have to give back. It's a free gift, but you have to give back to receive it. So is it really so free? I've described this part of my life so many times. It's like, pull the string. Oh, I had somebody stay in my house for 3 years and I took care of him. But yeah, I did. I had somebody stay in my house for 3 years and I took care of him. The first year he was I thought he was a friend. He was interested in me because I was interested in him romantically. And then he was obviously sick and I took care of him for 2 more years, and I realized after the first year there would never be a romance. He had absolutely no interest whatsoever in me, but I still cared for him very much. I thought he cared for me. I thought we had a friendship and I valued that friendship, and when he was sick, I took care of him. I let him move in with me, more or less, live in a platonic kind of situation. And I did things for him. I sat by his side during 3 hospital stays. You know, I learned how to cook no salted food, which was disgusting, but I ate it too. I didn't think it was very nice to sit and eat something that he couldn't eat, so I also had his no sodium diet for at least a year and a half. It was a long time that we were choking down this kind of food. But yeah, low sodium food, trips to the pharmacy to get meds, trips to the doctor. I can't even, it's just a whole lot of things. I have a list of things that I did. You know, I don't actually have a list, but in my mind, I have a good memory. I remember all the things I did for him. He doesn't remember any of it. But in the back of my mind, while I was doing all these nice things, I had the mentality that, you know, gee, this guy's going to be my friend for life. You know, I'm going to have a friend for life because of all this nice stuff that I'm doing, you know. He might never have any romantic feelings for me, but how cool it's going to be to have a friend, you know, in this person. I'm going to have a friend. I have a friend. He's my friend. You know, I'm doing these nice things because he's my friend, and he would do the same for me, of course. We had all these things, and a part of me really felt like I was pretty much buying a friendship for life. I was doing all these things, and it was going to pretty much guarantee me a friendship for life in this man. He would be so impressed with my ability to be a good friend. He would value so much that he had such a friend as I was being, that he would never want to not be my friend, and he would, you know, he would just be all these thoughts that went through my mind. Okay. So was my friendship really free? Was what I was giving to him really free, or were there invisible strings? You know, I don't think I really thought at the time that there were invisible strings. I thought, I'm doing such a good thing. I'm trying so hard to put somebody else ahead of myself, which is, as a very selfish person, it was probably the first time in my life that I actually did put somebody else in front of myself. And I was like, good job, Diane. You're being, you know, look, you actually have it in you to be a giving, generous person, selfless even person, thinking about somebody else, caring more about somebody else than your own selfish self, right? I was very pleased with myself. I was very pleased, and I don't think I really was aware that I was putting strings on it. But at the same time, I had these expectations. I had these hopes in the back of my mind that being such a good friend would earn me this man's support and friendship for, you know, maybe not forever, because people do go their own ways. People move away, whatever. People become focused on other things. But at least for a while, I would have this friend, which I valued very much. That was the other reason I did it, was I valued his friendship. I didn't want to lose his friendship. I didn't want him to die. So to me, it was worth fighting for, trying to help him survive this illness that he had. So what I did for him had strings attached. Sounds to me like the whole Jesus thing. Jesus died because he loved you so much. He died for you. Oh, but it's a free gift. You just have to. It's not free. There's conditions and strings attached. It's a contract. Well, okay, I'll die for you, but in return, you have to ... And if you don't, you're going to be tortured forever. And not only is that justice, but you deserve it. You deserve it because you didn't follow through on your side of the agreement, except there really is no agreement. You never signed anything. This guy who stayed with me, he never said to me, okay, well, if you take care of me, I'll be your friend forever. You know, there was never any vow made to me or whatever. It was just something that I had in my head that, you know, wow, I'm being such a good friend. How can he not be a friend back? You know, expectations. It turns out, no, everybody's a free spirit. Everybody is an independent individual, and a free spirit. You cannot put expectations on somebody. You cannot wrap them around. You can't bond them with invisible chains. Okay, you're my slave forever because I'm being nice to you right now. You're going to have to be my friend forever. That's not friendship. And that's not giving unconditionally. That's not giving just because it feels good. I mean, yeah, I did give because it felt good, but at the same time, I had just gone through losing my marriage and finding out that no, this man never really did love me, you know? And so a part of me really badly wanted a friend forever. Somebody, I didn't care if there was romance. I didn't care if there was, you know, anything. I just wanted a friend that wasn't going to betray me, that wasn't going to tell me after a long time, well, it was just, I was pretending. I just did that because people, you know, expected me to do it. I didn't really have any feelings for you, Diane. I just desperately wanted a friendship that was real. Really, really, really wanted that and really worked hard for that. And I put this man in invisible chains because he never signed up on that. He was just a sick person who was grateful to have somebody who took him in and let him stay in their house and fed them and took care of them. He was grateful. And at the same time, resentful. I think anytime you give, especially if the person being the recipient of good stuff, of kindness, is a man, I think there's a whole pride issue. You know, people don't like to feel beholden upon somebody else, another person. Nobody likes to feel like they owe you something. You know, nobody likes to feel that way. And men have this, women have pride too. But there's a whole male ego thing, and women have egos too. But I know I'm walking on, I don't want to be sexist here. But a man doesn't want to be beholden to a woman or anybody, but I think even more so to a woman. Okay, and I'm going to end that line before I dig myself deeper. So yeah, I think he wanted to get away from me for that reason, is he didn't like to feel like that, and I reminded him of things that he didn't want to have to think about. But with Christianity, they try to tell you that this is a free gift and that, you know, Jesus loves you so much. If he loves me so much, it wouldn't matter to him if I loved him back or not. It wouldn't matter to him if I believed in him. It wouldn't matter to him if I jumped through hoops A, B, and C. It wouldn't matter if I had something to give to him in return. He would just give unconditionally if he loved so much. And being my creator, he would certainly understand. You know, as a mortal human with limited thinking capacity, I am able to look back now, 10 years later, because this is what brought this whole subject up for me, was 2015. It was 10 years ago that I had this man when he was at his worst, the most sick. It was 10 years ago in my house. And I forgot what I was saying. Hang on. What I was trying to say. I was able to recognize, looking back now, 10 years later, I am able to see where I went wrong, where what I did to contribute to my ultimately being very hurt and disappointed and feeling betrayed and all the bad feelings that I ended up having to feel. I can look back and recognize where, you know, the things that I did that led to that happening. And yet the supreme being of the universe puts out this contract that we never signed. We humans never signed, but we're expected to follow through with our side of our part of the bargain, which we never agreed to. That we need to do this and this and this and this because he died for us. And if we don't do this and this and this, well, guess you're getting to burn in hell forever. You know, I can't imagine a supreme being, a god, a deity, would come up with that kind of arrangement. You know, I didn't ask God to come down to earth as a human and suffer. Ooh, for 3 whole days, just so he could go up and live in paradise forever. And because I don't believe it actually happened, and I don't actually believe he existed at all, I deserve to be tortured forever. That would be like me going up to this guy who could not return friendship for what I gave to him, and saying, okay, you know what? You're the worst human that ever lived, and you deserve to be lowered in acid for what you did to me. Just imagine if I actually said, if I actually had a vat of acid. Okay, just imagine I had a vat of acid. Its toxicity is so noxious. It's like your eyes burn just being anywhere near this vat. You know, it's got this vapor floating and stuff above it. It's just horrible. You know, it's like if you put anything in it, it'll instantly just start to dissolve. And I capture this man who refused to be my friend, and I take him to the edge of this vat, and I chain him, and I have this apparatus that will lower him into the vat very slowly, right? And I tell him, just before I start the apparatus up, I say, because you refuse to be my friend after all the things that I did for you, you deserve this. And then I proceed to stand there smiling, watching his slow, painful demise as he's lured into the... Now, if I said to you, well, doesn't he deserve that? Would you think I was like the most sadistic monster ever? Wouldn't you think, well, bitch, you should be lowered in acid for doing that to another human being, right? Well, God, well, that's what he proposes. That's what he says or threatens according to Jesus in the New Testament. I'm sorry, a lake, meaning liquid, of fire. When I hear that term, I think of acid. A lake of fire, burning forever. In other words, the apparatus that I have in my little scenario that's lowering him slowly, imagine if that just never ended. Imagine if after he completely dissolves, he reforms and then is lowered again, and then reforms and is lowered again, and reforms over and over and over forever. That's what God says to us for not being able to return for what his precious free gift of eternal life. Jesus is whatever. If he loved you so much, but you're going to be burning in a lake of fire forever if you don't fulfill your side of the contract. If you don't, he literally puts invisible chains on us. That, even before we were born, this cult puts invisible chains on us. If we don't do A, B, and C, then we deserve the acid treatment. And it's not just one immersion. It's over and over. And we deserve it. We deserve that for not fulfilling our part of the contract that we never signed and we never agreed to. We weren't even made aware of it. Jesus died just for you. He loves you so much. He died just for you. Guilt tripping. You know what I did after the whole thing ended with this guy, and he said to me, thanks, but I don't need you anymore. And he went on his merry way, hoping to never have to see me again. You know what I did? I guilt tripped him. I sure did. I can't believe that after all the things I did for you, that you can't even be my friend, that you could be so mean, that you could treat me this way. Oh my, how dare you, you liar. I mean, all this shit that I was guilt tripping him. I was guilt tripping him, and I finally labeled him a sociopath, because sociopaths have no contract. They have no conscience. I can't talk now. Sociopaths have no conscience. They're born without one. And some sociopaths are more extreme than others. Some have, a little bit of conscience. I think there's a lot of sociopaths in the world. I think I read a statistic that like 1 every 4 men and 1 in every 10 women or something like that are sociopaths to some degree. I think that people have different sensitivities is when it comes to conscience, having a conscience. And the people we call sociopaths have lesser sensitivities. They hear their conscience less, or they have no conscience at all. And I labeled him a sociopath because no matter how hard I tried to guilt trip this man, he didn't see that he did anything wrong at all. Oh, I don't know what your problem is. You know, I bought some food sometimes. I bought the manager's special buy one get one free food sometimes, so I contributed to the rent. You know, he truly doesn't see that living with me for 3 years and paying. The last month that he was in my house, he finally paid me $100 to help with the rent, with the mortgage. And that was the month that he left. Never offered to help me with gas. He was in a show and he had rehearsals, and I drove him to every single rehearsal and sat during his rehearsal so I could then drive him back. Never offered to pay me a penny for the gas for that. I mean, this guy seriously does not see anything wrong with what he did to me. Whatever. But I did try to guilt trip him. I did that. Just like Christians try to guilt trip anybody who doesn't. Oh my gosh, he died for me? Oh, that changes everything. Oh, I didn't know. Where's the contract? I'll sign on the dotted line. Oh my goodness. Just show me the paper. I'll make myself his slave forever. I'll be his best friend forever. Heaven forbid that I should have any kind of desire to do something contrary to this contract that I didn't know about. Yeah. So I am guilty of guilt tripping somebody, and I can see it in Christianity. I see it, and it angers me. It's like, oh, you're going to lay that one on me, huh? Well, he did this and this and this for you, so you really should feel beholden to him. Excuse me. I'm a free spirit. I didn't ask for that. And you know, at least with my story with this guy, he really existed. This guy's a real human being. He lives and breathes. He has, you know, his own set of hopes and desires for his life. It's like with the Jesus thing, it's not even a real person. It's like this, oh, well, he really is alive. He died. Well, first of all, we don't have to show any evidence that he ever lived at all. We just know he did, and that's good enough. But not only did he live, but he didn't, you know, after he died, he came back. So he's actually still alive. But you don't get to see him. You don't get to, you know, you just have to trust us. Anyway, giving without strings. Christianity doesn't have that. Christianity has strings. Just as much as I put strings on this person that I cared about, hoping for friendship, and then guilt-tripping him when I didn't get it. That's what Christianity does to people with Jesus. Exactly what Christianity does using Jesus. That is not really caring. That is not love. Oh, Jesus loves you so much. That isn't love. That's a selfish thing, a very selfish thing. That's when you want something back and you're trying to get something back. And then if your plan A doesn't work, then you go to plan B and you lay on the guilt. Try to make them feel so guilty. Okay, I'll love you. Fine, I'll be your friend. Except, do you really want that? Is that the kind of friend you really want? You know, somebody that you have to guilt trip to be your friend? Is that a friend? Is that a friend worth even? Is that friend worth anything, really? If you have to guilt trip them? That's what I finally came to realize about this guy. It's like, why are you putting so much effort trying to... Who gives a rat's ass if this guy likes you or not? You did a good thing. You took care of him. Let it go. Let it go. It's like bringing a stray dog into your house, and you give it some food. It turns around and bites you and runs away. You might be angry at the dog. Well, shoot, I fed you. I gave you a nice warm house to stay in over the night, and I gave you something to eat, and you bit me and ran away. You gonna be mad about it, or are you gonna let it go? You gonna hunt that dog down and try to teach the dog that it was a bad dog and that it should have done something else instead? Or are you just gonna let the dog go? Let him go. He's a free spirit. You learned, okay, well, there's some bad-tempered dogs. Well, there's some rotten-tempered people too. There's people that aren't worth it. They're not worth it. If you give and give and give, and somebody doesn't give back ever, or if you find yourself in a one-sided friendship where you're the one that's always having to call, always having to send the emails, and if you sit back and say, okay, I'm just going to see what happens if I don't make a constant effort, and it's like they completely forgot you existed. Gee, maybe that's not a friendship that's worth very much. Maybe you shouldn't put so much work into it, and move on. Let them go. There's so many more valuable things you could be doing with your life. So anyway, Christianity is not a free gift. They put strings on what they offer. They guilt trip. They basically do everything wrong that I did with this person that I wanted so desperately to have as my friend. They desperately want you too. They desperately want followers. They want people to contribute to their coffers. Put money in the basket. Support the cult. Feed the monster. Make Christianity strong so it can march across the land and take over everything and take over governments and take away human rights and put us back in the 14th century. That's what Christianity wants, desperately. Anytime somebody wants something for what seems to be a nice, benign thing that they're doing, but they have strings attached. It's like the ministries or the missionaries who go to these other countries and they help the village. They put in a irrigation system and they help them learn how to grow a better kind of corn that's resistant to pests, and they do all these things to help the village so they can support themselves better and maybe have cleaner water or whatever. But then they have to lasso them all and put them into a big tent and have a sermon. Maybe they have a sermon every Friday night and it's a requirement. That's not giving freely without conditions. You have a hidden agenda, and that's what Christianity is. It's got a huge hidden agenda, and I'm thinking anytime you have a friendship where there's that kind of situation, or anytime you have, especially if you're the one that's giving, and the other person is taking, and there's no contract, there's never any, well, hey, are we friends? Really? We're friends, right? I mean, shit, I should have asked this guy. I should have said, are we really friends? Do you really care for me? Do I really matter to you? Why did I never ask him these questions while I was taking care of him? Why did I just assume? I did. I just assumed all these things. So yeah, Christianity. My opinion, it really doesn't give what it claims to give, and it does take, or it tries really, really hard to take and take and take. So that's my video. I had in mind this whole thing about the kind of giving that has strings attached, and how that's really a very selfish kind of giving, and it's not something that's not something that you should emulate. I did that with my own situation. I learned from the experience in the future, if I give to somebody, I will not have expectations. Because you know what happens when you do that? You not only hurt the person you're trying to help, you hurt yourself. You hurt yourself because you build up all these expectations and then you crash and burn. Christianity ultimately will crash and burn because they have all these expectations. And they try to chain people, and people are free spirits that inevitably want to be free. Good without God, because that's what we all are. At least we all have that capacity somewhere. So that's all. Thanks for watching if you have. Bye!
I am absolutely convinced that the main source of hatred in the world is religion. and I think it should be, religion, treated with ridicule and hatred and contempt.
Share the same way.